Why Tesla factories always get so much attention. When people hear the words car factory, most of them immediately imagine a dirty and noisy place filled with smoke, giant machines, and workers carrying heavy metal parts all day long. And honestly, that image is not completely wrong. For decades, that was exactly how the car industry looked. But everything started changing when a company called showed up and tried to do something people thought was impossible. They did not just want to build electric cars. They wanted to completely change the way cars are made. And surprisingly, the biggest innovation from Tesla was not only their cars, it was their factories. The first time people watch videos of Tesla factories, they usually say the same thing. This looks like the future, robots moving everywhere, massive machines working non-stop, car parts moving automatically across giant assembly lines. It almost feels like watching a science fiction movie. But behind all that futuristic technology, there is actually a very smart strategy. Tesla realized something important very early. Making electric cars is not the hardest part. The hardest part is producing those cars quickly, cheaply, and at massive scale. And this is where Tesla completely changed the game. Before Tesla became famous, traditional car companies mostly used old manufacturing systems, long production chains, slow processes, too many suppliers, and extremely expensive production costs. That is one of the reasons why electric cars used to be very expensive and unrealistic for normal people. But he believed electric cars could become mainstream, but only if the manufacturing process itself was reinvented. That is why Tesla focused not only on designing cars, but also on building entirely new factory systems. And what makes this even more interesting is that Tesla borrowed many ideas from the tech industry instead of the traditional car industry. They treat factories almost like software, meaning the factory is constantly updated, improved, and optimized. In fact, Elon Musk once said something very interesting. The factory is the product. At first, that sounds strange, but the more you think about it, the more it makes sense. Because if your factory is incredibly efficient, then you can build better cars faster and cheaper. That is why Tesla invested billions of dollars into manufacturing technology. Not just giant buildings, but giant production systems that work almost like living machines. Today, Tesla factories are not only located they also have huge facilities in and several other countries. Every single factory follows the same philosophy. Everything must be fast. Everything must be efficient, and everything must be designed for future expansion. And the deeper you look into Tesla, the more you realize something. Tesla is not just a car company. It is a technology manufacturing company that happens to make cars. And that is where our story really begins. Because to understand Tesla, we need to step inside the heart of its operations, the massive factories known as Gigafactories. Part 2. What exactly is a Gigafactory? When Tesla first introduced the word Gigafactory, many people thought it was just a cool marketing name. But it actually means something very serious. The word Giga represents something huge, on a billion-scale level. And Tesla designed these factories to produce an insane amount of components every single year. One of the most famous Gigafactories is located in Neog Content Reference, Oasite, Index, 5. The place is so massive that from above, it almost looks like a small city instead of a factory. Some workers even said walking from one side to another feels like walking through an airport. But why build something this gigantic? The answer is actually simple. Tesla wants almost everything to happen in one place. Traditional car companies usually depend on many outside suppliers. One company makes batteries. Another company makes seats. Another company builds electronics. That system works, but it also creates a lot of delays and expensive shipping costs. Tesla wanted to remove as much complexity as possible. So instead of depending heavily on suppliers, they try to build many important parts themselves. This strategy is called vertical integration. And honestly, it became one of Tesla's biggest advantages. Imagine a restaurant that grows its own vegetables, prepares its own ingredients, and sells food directly to customers. Costs become lower. Quality becomes easier to control. And the entire process becomes faster. Tesla basically applies the same idea to car manufacturing. One of the most important sections inside a gigafactory is battery production. Because batteries are the most expensive part of an electric car. If Tesla can make batteries cheaper, they can also make electric cars more affordable. That is why they are obsessed with battery efficiency. But Tesla does not only focus on size, they also focus heavily on workflow. Every machine inside the factory is positioned carefully so materials travel the shortest possible distance. That may sound small, but at massive production scale, saving just a few seconds can save millions of dollars. Tesla even uses digital simulations to design their production lines. Everything is calculated carefully. Everything is optimized. And this is one of the reasons why engineers around the world are so fascinated by Tesla factories. Because Tesla treats manufacturing almost like a giant computer system. The factories are also designed to use cleaner energy. Many facilities include giant solar panels, recycling systems, and energy-saving technology. Because Tesla's mission is not only about selling electric cars, they also want to build a cleaner industrial future. Of course, building something this ambitious was extremely risky. Many people doubted Tesla in the beginning, because building gigafactories costs billions of dollars. And if the plan failed, the company could have collapsed completely. But Tesla kept pushing forward. And eventually, the results started showing. Production numbers exploded. And gigafactories became one of the biggest symbols of Tesla's rise. Part 3. How Tesla robots work almost non-stop. One of the most fascinating things inside Tesla factories is the huge number of robots. The moment you see the production floor, you immediately notice giant robotic arms moving in every direction. They lift car frames, weld metal parts, move components around, and repeat the same precise movements non-stop. Watching them feels almost unreal. And naturally, many people ask the same question. Will robots completely replace humans someday? The answer is actually more complicated than people think. Because Tesla once learned a very painful lesson about automation. Around the year 2018, Tesla tried making production lines that were almost fully automated. The idea sounded amazing. Robots would handle nearly everything. Production would become faster. Labor costs would become lower. But reality turned out very differently. Some robots were too complicated. Some machines constantly failed. And production slowed down badly. At one point, Tesla faced serious delays while trying to produce the Tesla Model 3. Elon Musk even called the situation production hell because the factory became too dependent on machines. And that experience taught Tesla something important. Not every job should be done by robots. Some tasks are actually easier and faster for humans. So Tesla eventually found a balance. Robots handle heavy lifting, precision welding, and repetitive work. Humans focus more on supervision, adjustments, and solving unexpected problems. It is actually similar to a modern restaurant kitchen. Machines can help cook faster, but human chefs are still necessary to control quality and fix issues. Tesla realized the smartest factories are not fully robotic. They are hybrid systems where humans and machines work together. Even so, Tesla still uses far more automation than many traditional car companies. And one major reason is speed. Robots can work 24 hours a day without getting tired. They do not lose focus. They do not get distracted. And they can repeat tasks with incredible accuracy. That consistency is extremely important in car manufacturing, because even tiny mistakes can become very expensive. Tesla also uses advanced sensors and AI systems throughout the factory. Machines constantly send live data to monitoring systems. If something unusual happens, the system can detect it immediately. This allows Tesla to fix problems much faster than older factories. Another interesting thing is software updates. Tesla regularly updates factory systems digitally, meaning machines can improve performance without replacing hardware. That approach is much more common in the tech world than in the car industry, and it became one of Tesla's biggest strengths. Of course, automation also creates concerns. Some people worry robots could reduce human jobs in the future. But Tesla argues that new technology also creates entirely new types of work. Robot technicians, AI engineers, automation specialists, software developers. All these jobs are growing because manufacturing itself is changing. And honestly, the entire industrial world seems to be moving in this direction now. Today, many other car companies are trying to copy Tesla's factory approach. They are increasing automation, building smart factories, and integrating AI into manufacturing. But Tesla still has one huge advantage. They started earlier than almost everyone else. Part 4. The secret behind Tesla's production speed. One thing that makes Tesla extremely dangerous to competitors is how fast they can improve manufacturing. Now parts of it are already becoming reality. Tesla is also developing a humanoid robot project called Tesla Optimus. If this technology succeeds, humanoid robots could eventually assist inside factories, and that could completely transform industrial labor. But all this technological progress also raises important questions. Will massive automation actually improve human life overall? Some people believe it will, because automation can reduce costs and make products more affordable. But others worry about job displacement and economic inequality. And honestly, this is one of the biggest debates surrounding modern technology today. Still, one thing is very difficult to deny. Tesla already changed the manufacturing industry forever. They forced competitors to innovate faster. They pushed the entire car industry toward electric vehicles. And they proved that old manufacturing methods are not always the best solution. When people look at Tesla factories today, they are not only looking at car production, they are looking at a possible preview of the future. Factories filled with robots, real-time data systems, AI-driven automation, and manufacturing processes that keep getting smarter. And even though this may feel far away from everyday life, the impact is actually very close to us. Because the way products are made directly affects prices, technology, and the future of industries around the world. And maybe that is why so many people are fascinated by Tesla factories. Because behind every Tesla vehicle, there is a much bigger story. A story about humanity trying to build a faster, smarter, and more advanced future. If you enjoy content like this, click the subscribe and like buttons to support this channel, and share this video with friends who need insights like this. To make this possible, Tesla uses massive amounts of sensors and data systems. Almost every stage of production generates information. Machines send live data. Robots send performance reports. AI systems analyze factory activity in real time. It is almost like a giant nervous system. Imagine a hospital constantly monitoring a patient's heartbeat every single second. Tesla applies a similar concept inside its factories. If a machine behaves strangely, the system notices immediately. If temperature levels become dangerous, alerts appear instantly. If production defects start increasing, engineers can respond before the problem spreads. This data-driven approach became one of Tesla's biggest strengths. Because Tesla is not only building cars, they are collecting enormous amounts of manufacturing information. And that information helps them improve efficiency constantly. Tesla also changes production systems very frequently. Traditional automakers often avoid changes because updates can slow production temporarily. Tesla is much more flexible. They are willing to modify production lines rapidly if it improves efficiency. Sometimes the company makes changes just to save a few seconds. But across hundreds of thousands of vehicles, those seconds become massive savings. Tesla is also obsessed with reducing waste, because every wasted material increases costs. That is why they constantly simplify designs. Fewer components, fewer connections, fewer possible failures. This philosophy appears almost everywhere inside Tesla factories. Of course, large-scale manufacturing is never easy. Tesla still faces bottlenecks, supply chain problems, and quality issues sometimes. But what makes Tesla different is how quickly they react. Their company structure is more flexible than many giant traditional automakers. Tesla also became famous for its intense work culture. Many former employees described the environment as extremely demanding. Aggressive deadlines, high production targets, constant pressure. But that same intensity helped Tesla grow incredibly fast. They operate with the mindset of a startup instead of a conservative car company. And the combination of automation, AI, data systems, and rapid execution turned Tesla into one of the biggest electric vehicle companies in the world. Part 6. The future of Tesla factories. Today, Tesla factories are no longer just places where cars are made. They became symbols of industrial transformation. Because the entire world is slowly realizing that manufacturing in the future will probably look very different. And Tesla is one of the companies leading that transition. Countries around the world are now racing to expand electric vehicle industries. Traditional automakers are redesigning factories, adding more robots, using more AI, and building smarter production systems. But Tesla already has years of experience experimenting with modern manufacturing. That experience gives them a huge advantage. In the future, Tesla factories will likely become even more automated, faster, cheaper, and more energy efficient. Some experts even believe future factories could mostly run through AI systems. Imagine a factory where machines communicate with each other automatically. Robots coordinate movements together. AI predicts problems before they happen. And production systems optimize themselves in real time. A few years ago, that idea sounded like science fiction. Because in manufacturing, faster usually means cheaper, and cheaper often means more competitive. Tesla understands this very well. That is why they constantly search for ways to simplify production. The fewer steps required, the lower the costs become. One of Tesla's biggest innovations is something called the Giga Press. This machine is absolutely enormous. Some people say it is almost as large as a small house. The Giga Press can create giant aluminum car parts using a single casting process. Before this technology, many car frames were built using dozens of small pieces. Each piece needed welding and assembly. That process took a lot of time. Tesla wanted to simplify everything. So instead of combining many small parts, they started producing huge single-piece sections. The results were incredible. Production became faster. Cars became lighter. And manufacturing costs dropped significantly. Many engineers in the car industry were shocked because Tesla challenged manufacturing methods that had existed for decades. And surprisingly, the strategy worked. Now, several competitors are trying to copy similar systems. Tesla also moves much faster than traditional automakers when it comes to design changes. Older car companies usually move slowly because they rely on long approval processes and complicated bureaucracy. Tesla operates more like a startup tech company. They test quickly, fail quickly, and improve quickly. This allows them to innovate aggressively. Of course, moving fast also creates risks. Tesla has faced criticism for inconsistent quality at times. Some customers complained about panel gaps or finishing issues in certain vehicles. But Tesla seems willing to accept some imperfections in exchange for rapid progress. Their mindset is very similar to software companies. Release improvements fast, fix issues continuously, and keep updating the product. That philosophy completely changed expectations inside the car industry. Another interesting thing is Tesla's limited product lineup. Traditional car companies often produce too many variations. That makes manufacturing more complicated. Tesla tries to simplify choices as much as possible. Fewer variations make production easier, faster, and more efficient. It is similar to restaurants that focus on a smaller menu. Operations become smoother. Training becomes easier, and quality becomes more consistent. Tesla applies that same logic to manufacturing. The company also controls large parts of its supply chain. During the global semiconductor shortage, many car companies struggled badly. But Tesla adapted faster than most competitors, because their software teams could quickly modify systems to work with alternative chips. This is one of the biggest advantages Tesla has as a tech-driven company. They do not think like traditional automakers. They think like software engineers building hardware. And honestly, that mindset may be the reason Tesla changed the entire industry so quickly. Part 5. How Tesla uses data to control quality. In traditional factories, quality control usually happens at the end. The car gets built first. Then inspectors check if something is wrong. Tesla approaches quality very differently. They want quality monitoring to happen during production itself, because the faster a problem is detected, the cheaper it is to fix.